Oh boy. So I meant to cover this yesterday live as it was happening, but sadly, my OBS decided to crash the most persistently and aggressively it has ever crashed before. I simply could not get a stream going. So I ended up canceling yesterday's stream, and now after more crashes, we have decided that the only way for me to stream anymore is to stream through Twitch, because otherwise YouTube will shut down and make a new stream every time my OBS crashes and I'm forced to restart it, which, if I do it enough, risks me getting a false strike from YouTube for spam, and I really can't risk that because I already have a false strike that YouTube won't fix, so I can't risk a second strike out of 3. That said, though, we're finally getting to doing the President Biden's State of the Union address. I don't expect a lot of people to be as interested in this because, let's be honest, lefties... I feel like lefties pride themselves in not giving a fuck about electoralism almost. But regardless, for those of you guys that are interested, I have found a really good, condensed, in 4 moments, sort of like hyper highlight reel of Biden's State of the Union address, and I feel like it's worth watching. There's definitely other stuff worth talking about in relation to it. Like, I think there was like a guy who got up and started screaming to interrupt it and got like arrested and walked out. Conservatives have lost their mind over Biden, like, not being a Nazi, obviously, and I know lefties have lost their mind over some of Biden's rhetoric here being a little centristy, and it's like, yeah, he's appealing to the people who vote. Centrists vote. Leftists think they're protesting by not voting, so they're not voters, so they're not worth appealing to, so he doesn't. Maybe vote, and then, like, you'll be worth appealing to. Woohoo, I still have a moment to grab snacks. Yes, you do.
President of the United States.
Here it is. There he is. Joe.
Not since President Lincoln and the Civil War have freedom and democracy been under assault at home as they are today. What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas. My predecessor and some of you here seek to bury the truth about January 6th. I will not do that. This is the moment to speak the truth and to bury.
You want to hear something funny? I was scrolling through Twitter, and I saw a lefty account say something along the lines of, the second Biden brought up January 6th right away, I clicked out and stopped watching. To a lot of, like, the more hyper-lefty people, January 6th is becoming the new Russia. Russia, the whole Russia collusion thing, was real. So real that multiple of Trump's campaign people and friends were arrested and federally charged and sent to federal prison because they were fall guys. They weren't able to prove that Trump knew about it, but they were able to prove that those higher-ups in Trump's campaign were colluding with Russia. And they were charged and sent to prison for it. Multiple people. The Russia collusion thing was fully real. Like, fully real. But even lefties treat it like it was a hoax, like conservatives say it was, because they are just too lazy to look at the indictments. But the indictments were real. The Russia collusion thing was real, just like this is real. January 6th was real. It's not just something the Democrats just need to get over. Oh, it's been a whole 4 years since the Republicans that are currently trying to get elected again attempted a coup of our government. Just get over it. It's such old news. They try to say that something that happened, like, not even that long ago, that's very serious and not just some drama that should be made irrelevant with time, should just be forgotten about and moved on from, when it's very relevant to our current political climate. It was caused by the guy that he's running against.
Bury the lies. Here's the simple truth. You can't love your country only when you win.
That's a good quote.
It's a decision to overturn.
That's
Roe
so
v.
good.
Wade.
Look at all the Republicans. Oh my God. Look at all the Republicans. Look, the Democrats standing and clapping. The Republicans sitting still. God. The partisan state of our politics. It's just so stark. You got some Republicans here, I bet, standing up and clapping. I don't know if like they're split up. Like I don't know if they segregate the seating by party, but like it's interesting to me that like half the entire room stood up and clapped, and the other half is sat completely still. It makes me think that must be the split between Republicans and Democrats, right? Watch who stands and claps. See who stands and claps. None of this area stands and claps.
It's a decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court majority wrote the following. And with all due respect...
This is so quiet. What the fuck, Biden? Come on, speak up, my man. Bro, you were a lifeguard. You swam. You got swimmer's lungs, man. I know you're old, but they're still in there.
Justices. Women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much...
Like, this is that kind of thing is the sort of thing that people say Biden's brain is melting over, but he just like immediately says, "Oh, I stumbled," and like corrects himself. Mind you, Biden had a stutter. Like, this isn't like a thing he made up, like, "Oh, sympathy, woe is me." It is very public knowledge, and provably so. Biden grew up with a quite serious stutter and had to go to trainings and like speech therapy to like learn how to speak eloquently without constant like stuttering. And so whenever he is speaking, not only is he having to, you know, give a speech to the world essentially, but primarily to the entire country because he's the president, but he's also actively having to suppress effectively a disability he has, which is the stutter. It's something you just have and have to fight against with like a long amount of training and vocal speech therapy. It's similar to a speech impediment. It just takes a lot of speech therapy and constant work whenever speaking to sound quote unquote normal. So I feel like whenever he makes a mistake and people say his brain is melting and they give Trump the pass, especially, it's very dishonest. Yeah. Look who's standing completely still. All the fucking the Trump justices. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are the Supreme Court, or some of these people are the Supreme Court appointed by Trump. But like all the Republicans, they're just all fucking still. They're all still and looking like. I'm assuming the Supreme Court justices are the ones in robes. Yeah, I'm taking a wild guess at that.
Those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women. But they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024. In November, my team began serious negotiation with a bipartisan group of senators. The result was a bipartisan bill with the toughest set of border security reforms we've ever seen.
Oh, you can hear the Republicans getting mad for Biden bringing it up. Yep. The toughest border security reform we've ever seen in that border security bill. It also included funding to Ukraine as well, too, by the way. And the Republicans blocked it. And many of them weren't even like, they didn't even lie about why they did it. They outright said they don't want Biden to fix the quote unquote border problem, to quote unquote fix the border problem, because if he does, then Trump can't use it as an attack against him. I believe it was Mitt Romney who called him out directly. Mitt Romney calls out Republicans blocking border funding bill. Like, Biden played the Republicans so well with that, literally gave them what they wanted, but said, but I get to take credit for doing it. And they refused to pass the bill that would give them everything they say they want and that their voters want because they don't want Biden to take credit. Literally made them, like, essentially reveal the fact that it's not about the policies. It's not about achieving anything. It's about winning the culture war. Here's Mitt Romney, a Republican, saying as much.
It was hard for me to see what Leader McConnell was suggesting. He seemed to be of two minds in the conversation. But reading the reports this morning and the fact that he hasn't corrected them.
You know, Romney's a monster and all, but surprisingly based. He's got an American flag and Ukraine flag, it seems. I may be wrong, but it looks like Ukraine flag to me. Like, kind of entwined together as a pin. So he seems to be showing, like, a surprising amount of solidarity for Ukraine for a Republican politician. That looks like the yellow and blue of the Ukraine flag. Like the bottom is yellow, the top is blue. That's the Ukraine flag, I think.
Suggest.
Isn't that the capitalist flag thing? I mean, it could be, but that is the Ukraine flag colors, and I've never recognized those colors in a flag outside of Ukraine, so correct me if I'm wrong. Hey, commenters in the video when this comes out, tell me if that's the Ukraine flag or not, but I'm pretty sure it is. Is that blue or black? It's blue. I can tell at least on my screen, because my screen's bigger, at least. It's very clearly blue.
That he is inclined to listen to what former President Trump wants. And former President Trump has indicated to senators that he does not want us to solve the problem at the border. He wants to lay the blame for the border at Biden. And the idea that someone running for president would say, please hurt the country so I can blame my opponent and help my politics is a shocking development. I think the border is a very important issue.
Obviously, the Republicans are wrong about the border. The thing is, Biden called their bluff on it. The Republicans don't actually want to spend that much money on something they know isn't really a problem. They want to spend it on the stuff that instills their cultural values and forces it on people here. The wall thing is very much an afterthought. It's more of an get elected thing. It's why Trump never actually built the wall. He just pretended to build the wall enough that people could claim he was doing it. It was always literally impossible to build the wall. Like, there was never any question of, was the wall going to happen? Like, Trump would say the wall just got taller, and it's like, but we're telling you, you can't build the wall. Not like, you can't do that. We're saying you can't do that. Like, it's not possible. There's not enough money in the world to build that wall and maintain it and everything. I think John Oliver actually did one of the best breakdowns of the minimal cost it would have taken to build the wall as Trump advertised it during his run. Because remember, the wall was originally supposed to be, 40 feet tall, solid cement and rebar, I believe was what he said. What the small segment of what he did make is like a 20-foot tall steel, thin, like slatted thing that people can literally climb with that like kind of method where you like do the rope climbing thing. You kind of climb like the same way one would climb like a coconut palm to get a coconut. Say when stranded on an island after a plane crash. You could literally climb at that exact same method. A belt, like get a belt and loop it around, and you can literally just walk up pretty much. You just pull outward and then you just walk up like that. That's literally the wall that exists. And of course, when it comes to like getting drugs through, you just slide it through the slat. So yeah, like it's just not a thing they actually care about. The border is entirely something they use to get racist and nationalistic Americans, and Americans who are stupid and think our border is not secure, to agree to. And people who like unironically think about politics in pop culture logic. This sounds crazy, and I know it sounds like I'm talking about a very niche group of people, but you need to understand there is a non-zero amount of people who unironically see like the wall in Game of Thrones and think like, yeah, it makes sense. America should have like a big wall at its borders. That just makes sense, like for protection. Even though in every single way possible it makes absolutely zero sense, practically, ethically, morally, constitutionally, like it just doesn't really compute. But these are people who literally use pop culture logic to justify their politics, because that's all they engage with. And that's the median voter. I hate to say it, but that is the median voter.
You don't think so? Oh, you don't like that bill, huh? That conservatives got together and said it was a good bill? I'll be darned. That's amazing.
God, I love... You can't say Biden's, like, falling apart. Biden is absolutely... Look at this shit. Look at that smile. Look at how he's like, oh, you didn't like that bill? That border funding bill? You all got together and agreed that bill and the funding to the border was good, and then you shot it down? Just, and people are saying Biden isn't there. He's there. He's just kind of like, he just kind of mutters because he's old.
That's amazing. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. We can fight about fixing the...
Yeah, That's the line that got lefties super fucking pissed off, is that Biden referred to like an immigrant, like an illegal immigrant who killed a girl an illegal. Now, that's obviously not like on its own like racist. It's definitely a problematic like wording. Like the term illegal to refer to illegal immigrants, it just kind of has a weird connotation to it, but that's really all it does. It just has a weird connotation to it. I won't deny that it almost sounds like Biden is trying to appeal more to center and right-wing voters, but my answer to that is, why shouldn't he? Right now, the left is overwhelmingly saying that due to something that will never change, which is U.S. support for Israel, there's no fantasy world in which that stops, so that's not even on the table. There's no satiating that desire. So there's no point in trying to appease these hyper-lefty people. No matter how good of a job Biden does domestically, a very good job he's done domestically, by the way. You can Google it if you actually give a fuck. They don't care about that. They care about the current thing that the internet is currently, like, virtue signaling about. And I saw that dipshit you argued with on this point on Twitter. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know which dipshit you're talking about at this point, War Penguin. Like, you could be talking about any dipshit. Half my tweets are just quote tweets of dipshits I saw on my timeline. Yeah, like, regardless, though, the Republicans, or Biden has absolutely no reason, nor do the Democrats as a whole, have no reason to appeal to more progressive, especially young people right now, when young people who are progressive are proudly announcing that they are abstaining from voting just as they did back in 2020 and just as they did back in 2016. The reason Bernie couldn't win twice was because the types of people who support Bernie, the same types of people who say they won't vote for Biden because of Israel, are not the types of people who vote. Even when the person who they absolutely love is on the ballot, they're not the types of people who vote. They're the types of people who think their vote doesn't matter. And so they think, oh, Bernie's going to win. Let's go. Hoorah, hoorah. But they don't actually go out and vote for Bernie in the primary. There's talk on Twitter about how Bernie's totally going to win and we're going to have oh my God. Do you know it's gone up from a $15 to $25 an hour minimum wage? I think I remember the idiot I was arguing with on Twitter now that you're referring to, War Penguin. I think, was that the person who said that if Biden raised the minimum wage to $25 nationally, he'd vote for him? God, I remember back when it was $15. Now it's gone up another $10. The minimum wage would have to be pushed by Democrats, or I guess passed by Democrats, not pushed for, because like if it's not achieved, they'll refuse to believe that the Democrats want it. God, these people will literally set unattainable bars for Biden and the Democrats to reach. They're just not voters. They were never going to vote. They never will, and they're not worth appealing to. And if they want to see the Democrats actually start to appeal to them, then they need to become voters, because politicians appeal to voters. They pander to voters. No politician has ever woken up and said, you know what? I want to pander to non-voters today.
Border, or we can fix it. I'm ready to fix it. Send me the border bill now. Israel has the right to go after Hamas. Israel also has a fundamental responsibility, though, to protect innocent civilians in Gaza. I've been working nonstop to establish an immediate ceasefire that would last.
This is completely true, by the way. He started the talks for ceasefire. Israel has agreed to it, and it's now in Hamas's court. I believe we've got 2 days till we find out whether or not Hamas has agreed. I don't know if they have yet, but the deadline is in 2 days. So hopefully Hamas agrees and sticks to it, and we should have a ceasefire, best case scenario, starting in 2 days in Gaza.
For 6 weeks to get all the prisoners released, all the hostages
As of the
released.
recording of this video.
To get the hostages home and ease the intolerable and humanitarian crisis. And thanks to our bipartisan infrastructure law, 46,000 new projects have been announced all across your communities. And by the way, I noticed some of you strongly voted against it, or they're cheering on that money coming in. I like it. I'm with you. I'm with you. My fellow Americans, the issue facing our nation isn't how old we are. It's how old are our ideas. Hate, anger, revenge, retribution are the oldest of ideas. But you can't lead America with ancient ideas that only take us back. So let's build the future together. Let's remember who we are. We are the United States of America. And there is nothing beyond our capacity when we act together.
Elizabeth Warren always looks like such a soccer mom. She's not perfect, but say what you want. Elizabeth Warren has done a lot for progressive policy in America. She's definitely cringe, and she's got that establishment Democrat energy, but Elizabeth Warren is pretty based within the realm of American politics, and she's gotten a lot done. I don't really hate her. I used to dislike Elizabeth Warren a lot more than I do now. I kind of say I like her a little bit now as far as politicians go. I feel like I've gotten a lot more soft, I'll admit, on Democrats, but admittedly that has come with the Republicans going from back in 2019 and 2020, the Republicans were crazy and evil, but they were we want to bend the rules to do the most evil that you can get away with, kinda. There were still margins that it felt like the Republicans wouldn't cross. Now, though, the Republicans are outright admitting there are no boundaries they won't cross. That they will literally not stop until they have fully cooed the left out of power, and there is no more democracy elections anymore. They've eliminated minority rights. That is basically, they're just upfront about it now. Particularly when it comes to trans rights is the forefront. So it's really hard not to soften up on the Democrats when the Republicans have let the mask slip. So I thought the mask had already slipped back in 2020. Turns out it had not, and I'm sure it hasn't even fully slipped yet. However bad you think the Republicans are now, I mean, they always are hiding their worst of their worst opinions and beliefs and ideas. So whatever they're being honest about wanting and believing now, God only knows what they're not saying. God only knows what the quiet part is they're not saying out loud. Yeah, didn't a North Carolina House representative just get elected that's a literal Holocaust denier who tweeted out Hitler quotes? Yeah, we have actual Holocaust denying, Hitler quoting, proudly Hitler quoting, not walking it back or apologizing. Actual neo-Nazis winning high up seats in government right now. Is he governor? I might be wrong. Listen, guys, I'm not from South Carolina. I don't know. Or North Carolina? Mix them up. Moms for Liberty has also quoted Hitler. It's really hard to be a conservative in America and not quote Hitler, to be fair. It's really difficult because he is sort of the popularizer of most of their ideas.